look, isn't this a weird question? You know how it was illegal 20 years ago for people to be gay? And
Yeah.
it's illegal
Not
right
20 years ago. It was before that.
Yeah, maybe before that. But anyway, it wasn't that long ago that it was illegal to be gay. In Saudi Arabia, it's still illegal to be gay. Yeah,
definitely.
So, what do you think in 30, 40 years for us when we're older and our kids are kind of growing up? Yeah. What's going to be legal then that we think is extremely disgusting or something that just makes us cringe, or and he brought up the fact, like, what about pedophilia? Do you know what I mean? Well,
man,
yeah.
I think there's one thing that is universally accepted these days. So you can't fuck with kids.
Yeah.
Even people in prisons know that. You don't fuck with kids. So I don't think it'll go that.
AngelLaCiencia.
Develop over time, how we think, and one of those concepts is, for me, I'm just like, dude, are humans doing, like, we talk about evolution, being the basis of human behavior, of human biology, but are we living up to our biological desire or purpose? Is this how we're supposed to live behind computers typing away at a keyboard,
Yeah. And I think, in short, no. I think it's well evident that right now we're not living how we're designed to live, and you can see that. I think that's evident.
In what way? What are the symptoms you see? Because
look how like prevalent anxiety and depression are. And what are the main treatments for this thing? Like, widespread treatments. Ignoring the drugs. It's like social interaction and exercise and like exposure to the world. And I think the way that we live now, where machines do a lot of what we used to do and required to do, and then other humans use other machines to do all the other stuff. People aren't they're not fulfilled. They're not. They're not. It's clear they're not living the way that they're meant to live. Yeah. I think that anyway. I think that people in general, you have to make a conscious effort to make sure that you don't lose your functions. Yeah. Yeah. Like your primitive functions, the stuff that's developed there to keep you living. And
you know what I think is really good evidence of that? I think it's the rise of MMA and UFC.
Yeah.
From my perspective, okay, we can call it a sport as much as you want, but realistically, it's violence.
Yeah. And
humans need violence. Humans like violence.
Yes. Look at video games, man. There is, I mean, okay, except for Animal Crossing, which is also very popular. But in terms of genres, nearly all games have some form of violence in them.
Yeah.
It's some form of fighting. All the major games, right? Dota, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, fucking Fortnite. It's all violence in one way or another. But sorry, no, you were saying.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I completely agree with you that I think that we simulate violence.
Yes.
And it's kind of crazy to me because then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, why are we so against violence? Why is it legally there are so many obligations for you not to be violent, but in some circumstances we provide an outlet for it by this is completely fine. Okay, going into an octagon and punching on with each other is fine, but you doing the same thing on the street is completely wrong.
Yep. Well, octagon's a controlled circumstance, one. Two, you're getting paid to fight. You're not doing it for no reason. You're not doing it out of spite or hatred or because that dude slept with your missus or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And two, I think on some level they fight so we don't have to. I think on some intrinsic level that's true. I think like look at the Colosseum. This isn't anything new either. Like the Colosseum existed in Rome. Thousands of years before, we have anything today. People love that shit. It's built into you to like it for whatever reason. There's probably some sort of evolutionary psychology explanation to it.
And there's so many people that argue against that though. They talk about MMA and UFC. They call it barbaric. They call it savage, uncivilized. And for those people, the thought process to me is, look, this is how we're built, motherfucker. Like,
I think those people are pretty ignorant of the world that they live in, or they have like some bullshit utopia in their head that we don't need violence to exist. We don't need to be violent with each other. I think that's counterproductive to a good society. If you're being violent with your neighbor, if you're being violent with people at the shops, like a retail worker, you're not achieving anything from that. But you can't also ignore the fact that to be violent and the tools for violence are built into you. You have fists, you have legs, and there's a
there's a need to do it
fight without being taught how to fight. You know what I mean? It's built into your DNA.
So how do we do it? So how do we get that outlet out? Because that's where I see these people exploding. This is where I start to see uncontrolled amounts of like, pent up activity. They come out in the forms of huge violent crimes, right?
Look, that subject is no one knows.
When are we going to address that? When are we going to start thinking as a society, being like, okay, look, we're humans. I get it. We're violent. Okay, so there must be some kind of way for us to be able to funnel this into something a bit less destructive, maybe even productive.
They haven't figured that out yet.
Because they haven't acknowledged it. They haven't acknowledged that this is a need.
Not yet.
I don't think that's been something that's established.
Well, it's not established in an honest way. People use it for their own ends, i.e. the military. Today's military. And then people use it for money, i.e. the UFC, MMA. But the real conversation around what's happening. That's the thing. You know what? Broadly speaking, I don't think we're as violent as a society we are now compared to even 20 or 30 years ago.
No.
Like violent crime is down, I'm pretty sure, in most nations.
How we define it is down. Down, but I think the commercial structure around it has increased. That's exploded, if anything.
Look, put it this way: no one's died in an MMA or in a UFC. Plenty of people have died boxing. So although UFC might seem more brutal, I actually think it's a much more controlled and respectful sport.
That's the metric we use now, right? Like number of deaths and this and that.
Metric, right?
It's just a metric. It's just a metric in the end. Like, who's to say this is more violent because there's been more deaths in it? It's just that there might be better controls around it. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's just the fact that everyone has to fucking deny. Like, why are we all like dressing up in suits, going to work and acting like this is what we're born to do? Like, why has that been imprinted in our minds that we have to be happy with that as well? Like, I'm not happy with that. I don't fucking want to do this. And we need to start acknowledging that this is the general populace's impression of the world. Don't fucking hedge me into a corner and say that I'm on the margins because I feel this way, because I like violence, and I'm happy to express the fact that I like violence. Like, what's the answer to that?
I think there'll always be that level of discomfort with it, dude. I think maybe even that is as necessary as the violence itself. Because if we don't have that control, then maybe fucking
it's mayhem.
Will be, maybe it is mayhem. It's education as well. It's about understanding. And I think someone said this before. Plenty of people have said it before. But when you go into into a fight gym or whatever, those people are really nice. People that actually fight. They're super patient and tolerant, I think, compared to the average person. And they have to be, because they could fuck you up worse than the average person could. But it's not acknowledged in that way.
It's crazy how...
Well, who are we saying acknowledge though, right?
Yeah.
Like anyone that can go out there and, you know, I think we're lucky enough to live in a world where you can just walk in. There's plenty of opportunity to go learn about whatever you want to learn about.
Yeah, yeah.
But people aren't willing to. But yeah, who knows? Maybe in like 10, 15 years, given how popular MMA UFC is with us, you know, we'll see it. You know, I don't want to go as far as saying like taught to kids, but like maybe you'll have the option.
I think that's coming in. Yeah.
If you're a kid doing karate, for example, or like taekwondo or whatever, maybe you'll have the option to do. Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen kids come into like a UFC gym. And
they're coming.
They're
growing. They're growing
into that jiu-jitsu and MMA.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian. Yeah. So, like we're seeing kids transition into that, coming into this idea, but that's coming from parents that are obviously educated on this kind of thing. Yeah. Understanding that it's not, because we don't want to see violence with emotional attachments. That's what we don't like seeing. Yeah. We like seeing violence, but it's not emotional, and that's when we see the most, pure form of violence, right? Yeah. Like it's not
respect, right? Yeah. You don't cross the line. And I think people these days are a bit more privy to it. People these days are a bit more like, it's all about understanding, and if you're not understanding it, then you're ignorant to the fact. Right? Yeah,
so, it's just another concept of that change aspect, right? Yeah. Like this was a question that got brought up to me a couple hours ago, actually. So my tattoo artist was asking me, you know, look, isn't this a weird question? You know how it was illegal 20 years ago for people to be gay? And it's illegal,
not
right?
20 years ago. Before that.
Yeah, maybe before that. But anyway, it wasn't that long ago that it was illegal to be gay. In Saudi Arabia, it's still illegal to be gay. Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think in 30, 40 years for us when we're older and our kids are kind of growing up? Yeah. What's going to be legal then that we think is extremely disgusting, or something that just makes us cringe, or, you know, like and he brought up the fact, like, what about pedophilia? Do you know what I mean? Well,
man, I think there's one thing that is universally accepted these days, is that you can't fuck with kids. Yeah. Even people in prisons know that. You don't fuck with kids. So I don't think it'll go that far into pedophilia.
That's what I told him as well. Because to me, it came down to the fact that, like, children cannot make decisions that a lot of adults can make. And he was like, but who dictates what age that is? Should that be based upon a knowledge test? Should that be based upon an age test? Because 18, dude, some motherfuckers are still dumb as fuck at 18. Yeah. Some motherfuckers are smart at 12. Yeah. Like, it's very hard to tell.
Man. Very tough to tell. I think it's like one of those things where, because it's so tough to tell, they have to really err on the side of caution. Like, I'm sure there are people out there that at 15 and 16 are way more mature emotionally and physically than people that they are at even like 20 years of age. There's definitely a gap. But I can see why they err on the side of caution there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's hard to have a law that's, take this knowledge test. Like, there's no real simple solution to it. And a law has to be relatively simple.
It does,
so it can be enforced.
Because there's so many people.
I don't have a problem with it being 18 or...
Me too.
That being said, it's a weird culture we live in. Like, I look around at, like, both boys and girls, but more so girls, between like 12 and 16 years old today compared to when I was in school. And they don't look the same as when I was in school. They don't. Dress different. And I would even go as far to say they're sexualized. They don't have that like, I don't know, innocence about them. I don't know. I don't have any friends that are 12 to 16 now that I can even ask, like, what's going through your head? But I definitely, like, sometimes when I see, you know, like a younger girl out on the street, I'm like, wow, I wouldn't want my daughter to dress that way.
Because you think about it in a weird way, right? It makes you feel strange that you're attracted to, Like a 12 to 16.
To say attracted.
Well, that's what you insinuated, but okay.
No, I'm not insinuating that I'm attracted to them.
Okay,
I'm saying that they are definitely more sexualized than girls when I was that age.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't look at them the same.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an age thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Once you know their age, obviously.
You can't ignore the fact that it's weird, man. It's weird. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. But that also comes down to the decision they're consciously making. Like, are you trying to be sexual in nature, or are you just doing what everyone else is doing?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Like, dude, it's hard. It's hard to make. That's why. That's why it's difficult to be really black and white in this society, right? Like,
well, there's also that whole insinuation, like, oh, girls saying, oh, it's our body, we should be able to dress the way we want.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as saying, if you're a kid, oh, I should be able to drink and smoke because it's my body, I should be able to do what I want.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah. It comes down to a decision.
Yeah.
And who are the people that make the decision as to what is societally acceptable and what isn't?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one, man.
Yeah.
We draw the line at weird things.
Yeah, we draw the line because, okay, pedophiles say they can't help liking little children.
Yeah.
So do gay people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we accept that. We're okay with that. The fact that you love another man, or you are attracted to men, or you're attracted to women as a woman, it doesn't matter. It's okay as long as they're an adult.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with, like, if we see a young girl with an old man and he's a teacher.
Yeah.
That's the most horrific thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Which I agree.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Uh-huh.
But flip the gender roles, and you see a young dude, like a 15 or 14-year-old kid in high school, and he gets with his, like, 40-year-old teacher. No one bats an eye. Everyone, even guys between us, be like, "Oh fuck, where were the teachers like that when I was in school?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
we don't bat an eyelid.
Weird.
That's subjective. Other people would. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, society does.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like,
it is. Yeah.
You see, like, those guys end up getting married to those teachers that are like 30 years older than them.
Yeah.
And no one says anything. No one's like fucking screaming, "Oh, that's horrific. It's fucked up."
There's double standards for everything. There is.
Which is coming back to your original point of where does society draw the line?
Yeah.
Well, no, they don't know where to draw the line, and I think that's a big problem in our society.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know what it looked like. All I know is what I can control, and if it comes to that stage where I try and teach my kids to do the right thing, like respect yourself, respect your body, and we know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, we're educated on what's right and what's wrong. We're educated on that. We have been taught what's right or what's wrong.
Well, that's the thing. It's like moral relativism.
Yeah, and it's hard to say there's an intrinsic universal truth to what is right and what is wrong. Even it differs by country.
Oh, big time.
Currently, it differs by country. Yeah. Imagine 50 years ahead or 50 years behind. It's going to differ in a crazy way.
Yeah.
Like, dude, who's to say that a lot of the things that we think are illegal, like now, are going to be legal in the future? Obviously, from my perspective, drugs should be legal.
Yeah.
Any drug should be legal.
Yeah.
It's your choice to put in what you put in your body, what you don't put in your body.
We're lucky enough to have the education, though.
Yeah.
Because we know what to put in our body and what not to put in our body.
Yeah.
That's why we can say, let's make drugs legal.
Yeah.
We're confident that the people around us.
Exactly. So it comes down to education.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. And I'm hoping that the next generation is entirely more educated than we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like by a magnitude of like 10.
Isn't it interesting that we're the most educated in many circumstances? Like, it's just a fact that the millennials are the most educated generation on Earth. I don't know about Gen X. I don't think there's enough studies on it.
Yeah.
But we're definitely the most educated.
Yeah.
But we make none of the decisions almost, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I think that's why there's such a massive... That's our class war. That's our struggle.
Mm. And
because we can see objectively more truths than I feel our older generations can see.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to act on them.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I used to get really frustrated about it, but then I realized, it's always a factor of time, and I'm sure there was a time when
the boomers were fighting with
feeling exactly the same way. I mean, look at the whole counterculture 60s movement, right? Like that's something like a couple of years removed from that. So yeah, we haven't had to struggle as much, thankfully. But we haven't had as much change, I feel.
We haven't had as much responsibility.
Responsibility or meaningful change because of that.
Yeah.
In like the last 20 years.
It hasn't been unhanded to us. There's been no transition. There's no fucking, we haven't had a transition meeting, you know what I mean? Like, even from the old political system to what we don't know yet. What's the new political system? How are we going to work this out? Because politics...
Technology will come into play.
Yeah, definitely. But politics was something I spoke about with a previous guest, which is Triple S.
Yeah.
And the idea was, like, do you know a politician our age? Do you know one?
I know one.
You know one?
Yeah. I think he works now as a community organizer or something like that. But definitely, he was like heavily involved in youth labour.
Yeah.
Like youth parliament, all of those channels.
And if we spoke to him, do you think he would be telling us that he's amounting, like our generation is amounting enough change to be able to take over the reins from our previous generation anytime soon? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to him in a long time. But
that's one out of how many people?
Look, if there's one thing I'll say about what he talks about, for all his political aspirations, he talks about politics.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about issues.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about what's right and what's wrong. He doesn't talk about his thoughts about the world. He doesn't have the okay to do that, I think, because he knows that if he says something, he might alienate someone.
Yeah.
And that decreases his power base. And he knows that if he says something and it's not with what the overall standing of the party is, that decreases his power base.
Yeah.
So I can see that he's very careful about what he puts out.
Yeah.
And he's like to the party line.
Yeah.
And each party appeals to certain lines.
Yeah.
That's the only way I think it can be simple enough that people can either be Labour or Liberal or Greens or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like identity politics. You make this part of your identity.
Exactly.
And then you stop talking about what's real. Because you're afraid.
It's the chicken and egg situation. Look, man, like, are you basing what you say off the back of what you think other people want?
Yes, exactly.
Or do you stand for something that is original to you?
Nope, that's not.
Yeah.
I'm talking about him in particular. No.
And that's what I'm saying is, has this always been a disconnect between politics and what the actual truth?
I think so.
Then if that's the case, that means politics is going to continue.
Yes.
That means it's going to have continual influence.
That doesn't mean meaningful change can't happen through politics.
Yeah.
Just because there will always be politicians doesn't mean that there's not going to be other people that can enact meaningful change through politics. Because politics is the only way that most civilizations have found out to get anything done. Take, for example, Imran Khan in Pakistan. This dude was the captain of their cricket team. Yet, he has enacted more like positive political change in Pakistan from all sorts of things, like standard of healthcare, rights of people that are oppressed, standards of living in like rural areas. A lot of really, really good, meaningful change he's done through political, channels.
Yeah. But he himself is not a politician.
He's not a politician. He's not a career politician. He was literally the captain of their cricket team. And he was an excellent cricket player, I'll say that. But he's done more for that country in like the last 20 years than anyone else has done. But he's done it through political channels.
Yeah.
And he's now like their prime minister.
Yeah.
So that's I think what the message is. Like, politicians will always exist because people will always want power. Always. Like, people are geared to do that. I think that. But that doesn't mean that you should not play the game because you disagree with how it's being played. Yeah. Either find a better system, which maybe we will have in 20 years through like fucking whatever the same, like blockchain voting or whatever the same. If they find a better way to do it, a better way that's accessible, meaningful, and people can actually get on board with, then maybe there'll be a better way. But I think that if you really dislike something about the way that like your community is being run, you should fucking go for it. And people do it, and you're probably oblivious to it, but people do it. Case in point, exactly what we saw up here, up the road, with that road being closed. That means like 10 people wrote letters being like, fucking open this road,
yeah,
so we can get somewhere in the morning, and there was change. It's a very micro level,
yeah,
but that's all it takes, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think people should, and myself included, I don't think people should like disclude themselves or like, you know, just say, nah, it's politics, fuck that, I'm not going to get involved with it.
Yeah.
Do what you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another case of the if you can't beat them, join them situation, right?
You don't even have to join them. You don't have to join them.
Yeah.
Just do something.
Yeah. But at a surface level, like you're just doing what they do, but your intentions or your agenda is different.
It's your own.
Is your own.
It's not the party's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great thought.
It's for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's for yourself and your community or whatever it might be. But yeah, I think that's how we should look at it as a generation who's so disenfranchised by politics. Doesn't mean we should just keep ourselves out of the game.
Yeah.
And it's I was told the same thing by a few senior people whom I like admire at work. And they said the same thing about office politics.
Yeah.
They're like, when I was younger, I thought the exact same way as you. Like, fuck politics. I don't need to be a part of this. But I realized it's going to happen whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
So the best way is to do it in a way that works for me. And I think that is one strategy on how to do it. There's probably better ways to do it. But, you know.
Yeah. I've heard similar situations. Yeah. I remember being taken aside at a work. It's because I went to Singapore for one of these work events. Yeah. And I spoke to a lady and I was like, because I know that she is the one core member of a team that closes a shit ton of deals. Yeah. And I know that honestly, sometimes it feels like from an objective standpoint that she gets overlooked for her contributions. And I know she's the core member. So I pulled her aside and I was like, dude, how can you handle that? How can you know that you are like your work is being credit for your work is being taken by someone else, essentially. Yeah. And then, you know, I was like, you know, how can you see that going your way, whatever, like, you know, despite the politics. And she said to me, you know, look, I see you and I see someone who wants to solve problems. Do you want to solve problems? Yeah. And I told her, yes, I want to solve problems. I'm here to solve problems. I'm not here to, you know, gain clout. Play games. Yeah, exactly. And then she was like, then just do that. Why do you care about who takes credit for what? Yeah. Why do you care about how much power you have, this, that? Yeah. That stuff, so automatically, people are going to credit that to you. The people who matter are going to credit that to you. Yeah. So why do you care about these things? And then I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I was like, well, you know, like, I don't know, you know, how to be someone that I can, you know, can be generally popular here. And then she was like, look at all the people that, you know, you really respect here. Yeah. And she told me, and I told her, look, I look at the people I respect here and they seem to have everyone on their side. Yeah. And then she was like, how do you think they do that? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, well, you know what? When I was young, I used to go and every time I had a problem with someone, I used to talk shit about them. Yep. That was one of the things I did. I just went around and I used to say it to their face as well. I used to be like, I don't like you. You're a cunt. Yep. I don't respect your work ethic. I don't respect you, whatever reason. And she said that didn't help me at all. That didn't help me accomplish my goals. That didn't help me drive my agenda. So why do you think you need to do it? And then I looked at the people that I was respecting. I was like, you're right. None of those people do it. Even though I see in meetings them getting railroaded for no reason. Yeah. They never go around at the back of the meeting and then message me and go, hey, that guy's a cunt, hey. Yeah. And then I realized that and I was like, dude, these guys are all playing the game.
Yeah, they are.
I've just been out of the loop.
They're just making it work for them.
Yeah.
It takes discipline to do that though, right?
It does.
It's very fucking hard to get in there, do everything right, and still have someone blast you or not get credit for all the hard work you put in. But if you're doing it for, you know what it is, when you're saying that story, it's like, I think what she confronted you with is, why are you really doing this? Because if you're doing that and not getting credit, that means you're doing it for them, which means they have power over you. But if you're doing it to actually fix the problem, you're doing it for yourself, and you're doing it for the greater good. Like, because so the problem is fixed, and all these people are able to then do X, Y, and Z. Or whatever it might be. Yeah. And that's the way I think we should all approach our work. I think so. And you don't get that same instant gratification. When you do something right and everyone's like, oh, you did this right, everything's great, yeah, nice work. Hey everyone, how great is X? You feel really great. But if you do it for yourself, you do it to fix just a problem, you don't get that same buzz. But I think it's like shooting yourself in the foot. If you're just constantly doing it for that, then you'll always be... Because there's going to be times where you do something great and then someone's not going to say it. And that's what drives you to talk shit about it.
Yeah.
About them.
Yeah.
Because you're expecting. You're doing it with the expectation that you're going to receive praise for the work you did.
Yeah.
So once you don't get that, you're like, oh, what the fuck? I thought this person was on my side.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah. And you don't want to fall into that game because you go in thinking, I don't give a fuck about what these people think about me. And you say that to yourself and then look what you're doing.
Yeah.
You do care.
You care so much.
And I think about it after I have a meeting or I have some kind of catch up and I look to it and I'm going like, who are the people that I like and who are the people that I dislike? Yeah. Because in reality, if you really care about what you care about, there shouldn't be any of that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't like anyone or dislike anyone after any meeting.
Yeah.
There's either obstacles or there's solutions. Yeah. You're going to choose one of them.
Supporting you or not supporting you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't like or dislike anyone because of that, no matter what.
No.
But you find yourself doing that.
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah.
It's natural. You know what? Like my second or third week, I'm not sure if I already told you this, but like we have like a meeting where basically it's like a show and tell. What did I accomplish this week? And for like my first few weeks at work, I had nothing to say. And I felt like shit. I was like, what the fuck am I even doing? They all must think I'm a dropkick. I'm not doing anything. I didn't have anything to do. So I just started asking everyone like, oh, have you got anything for me to do? You can go, you know, and I was badgering people basically. And the person that basically brought me into the company sat me down and said, look, ignore the meeting. There are people in this place that you will see. They jump up and down every single time anything small happens. But you don't want to be that person. Trust me, you don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that does their work, gets done what needs to be done, because trust me, those are the people that are truly valued at the company. Those are the people that truly are the ones that are respected, and they're the ones that are the happiest. In you know, more or less words, she said something like that. And I was like, okay, I get you. Like I hear you loud and clear. I get you the way that I should be operating. Because if I'm just asking for work, so I have something to talk about, that's not the right reason to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to be that person? So it's
very true.
It's tough. So you know, maybe I have to feel like shit for 20 minutes because I don't have anything exciting to talk about. Yeah. But when I get stuff done, I know that it's been done well. Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, man. I think our time here is done. Cool. But it was great to hear your insight on things. Always great to catch up. I'm going to have you back on, obviously. But any kind of thoughts that you have, like I like to leave someone who hasn't been in your position yet, or you know, someone who might be going through a similar situation as yourself. What's something that has helped you recently to kind of put everything into perspective and realize what is really valuable and take away from that anxiety driven life that you've had? 100%. Well, first, thanks for having me. It was great to come on and just chat. I think what I would say to anyone that feels you know, as if there's pressure on them, just remember that, like, one, as long as you are consistently striving towards something greater, I think you should always be happy with yourself. And two, you know, if you really step back from most of your problems, I think you'll recognize them as being pretty small. Most of the things that tick you off on a day-to-day basis, I think if you just step back from the situation and look at it, I think you'll realize that they're quite small. So always give yourself and others the benefit of the doubt, and just always try and be better a little bit every day. That's right. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's what I think as well. I look at my life, the time span of my life, and I look at the scale of myself as a physical human being, and I look at the landscape of the universe, and I go, "Fuck, I'm such a small thing." Yeah. My problems are as equally, if not more, like smaller than that, because my problems are probably 0.0001% of my life. Yeah. So you know, scale back, realize where you are, just chill the fuck out. When you scale back as well, you realize how much you do have to be thankful for. So it's a good exercise, peeps.
Okay.
Peace.
Sounds good.